everybody, welcome to the Auman Landscape YouTube channel here. Fortunately, I have professional direction via Hunter here. When to start, when not to start. I'm going to talk some laser basics today, and I am no laser guru, I'm no laser master, but for using a laser on a site like this, I'm going to show you a few things about setup and things to look for in a laser maybe that I've learned from buying an entry-level one over the years here. And we still have a pretty entry-level one, I suppose. It's called an Adder Pro. No endorsement of that, just it's one that was a real good value laser back, I don't even know, 7-8 years ago. I don't know how long ago, frankly, we bought it, but we've had it a little while. Three main elements: your tripod, your grade rod, and your receiver, and then your actual laser itself. So four. I'm not really good at counting, if you can tell. So we want to pick out a spot that's kind of in the middle of all of our grade change. So I got a pretty crazy grade change from there to there where I need to measure. So I'll let you pan real easy there, because obviously this is crazy. And we want to kind of set in the middle of it, because we set it clear at the top. Our grade rod's going to be a mile tall when we get down in the low spot, and if we're clear at the low spot, our receiver might not actually even hit. So we want to kind of hit that middle point so our laser's not too terrible. That's the way I look at it. I may be wrong on that. I don't know. The heck do I know? So we get our tripod. We find our good point for it. We're gonna stab this thing into the ground, and we're gonna try to get it as level as we can once we stab it in the ground. The idea is, when you buy a laser, you want to buy a self-leveling rotary laser with dual slope is ideal. We'll talk about that. So we're gonna look at this thing. We're gonna get our legs, and I'm just gonna set this thing real quick to pretty close to level as I can get it. Awesome, creaky old thing there. We're gonna get our laser out of the box. Again, this is a self-leveling rotary laser. So what that means is, and for you old-timers watching, because I doubt they make leveling screws anymore. I don't even know. But we're gonna hit, and actually I need to rotate this. There we go. I'm actually not as level as I'd like to be just to start out. That looks a little better. We're gonna turn this thing on, and it's called self-leveling because it auto levels. It's self-leveling, so it'll find its own level, which is super cool, because back in the day there'd be a bubble on top, leveling bubble, and you'd take your screws and you'd turn them until you got it right within there, and there's a whole margin of tolerance there that or even error that maybe isn't ideal. So there we go. She got spinning. This thing's got a bunch of settings on it. We're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to just talk laser basics. So with that being said, got my grade rod or receiver stick, whatever you're gonna call it, and then my receiver on there. But this thing is throwing out a laser as it spins. There's a little eye in there, a little laser eye, and so as it spins, it's casting out a big flat plane laser field. Let's say I always want to do the Dr. Evil quotes, right? So anywhere on this site, it's got a margin of tolerance of, it's accurate within a 1/4 inch to 100 yards or whatever it is, depending on how good your laser is. And by the way, you can find these, you can find Topcon, Spectra, Stabila, all these levels. They've got some pretty good entry-level lasers now, starting about $1,000. You won't get as big receiver. We'll talk about that again, but whatever. So, so about $1,000 to get you a pretty good setup for entry-level, maybe, whatever. So this thing's sending out that laser field. So that laser's hitting, here, just as it is. Sorry, Hunter, trying to make that smooth pan, but I'm gonna make you earn it. And it's also hitting level here, as it is 100 feet from here, or indefinitely, right? And so what that's gonna allow us to do is set a point here, and Hunter, we're gonna pan over here, buddy. So what we got here, this is a benchmark for here, at least on our humble little site. And this is my finish elevation, finish floor, FF, FE, whatever. And so I'm going to take my laser, my receiver, I'm going to turn it on. And we'll have a whole nother video about setting benchmarks and all this stuff. But we're pretty close. That's pretty cool. So we're going to loosen this thing up a little bit. There's a little bubble on top of this to make sure your grade rod's not here or here, because that can throw your readings off, right? So I'm going to bring that up just a fuzz. All right, I like that. It's pretty good. So that means anywhere the bottom of this stick is, this rod, anywhere I put that will indicate where it is in relation to that laser field. So over here, there we are, whoops. So the bottom of that stick is reading within range, let's say right now, of the finish elevation of my benchmark. So now we know anywhere we go on this site, when we tap this thing, we can see what this buckeye tree is doing here. You also got to point it at the laser, that's probably a good idea. You got to have line of sight too, that's a whole other issue. So there we go, the bottom of that stick right there, that's finish elevation of my floor. So that's what makes this really handy, is now that we're grading, what I would do is, I know I've got 6 inches of concrete on my finish elevation pad, right? So I would raise this thing 6 inches to know where the bottom of concrete is, BOC we might call it, or TOB, top of base. And so we're gonna raise it 6 inches, and so it's at 3 1/8 there. We're gonna go to, if we go up 6, it'll be 9 1/8. We went down, or we took to make the grade rod go down to represent where the bottom of our concrete is, or our top of base that we're going to pour concrete on top of. I brought it up 6 inches. So now I know where the top of my base needs to be. And we're still off by a mile here. Where are we at? There we go. So I got to bring my base rock up clear to the bottom of my grade rod there. So I can go anywhere on this site and know. This for patios. I mean, this is what you do for patios, retaining walls, whatever. And so okay, we're not too far off here with this new elevation, right? We're within a couple inches. That's awesome. Kind of a quick thing you can do is your laser field, your receiver right here is roughly what is that? It's an inch either way. So when you're doing rough grade, if this thing's beeping, you're within range at least, so you can get rough grade in that way. Then when it's time to finish and final grade perfect, then it's time to get picky and listen for that dead hum, right? That flat line, if you will. So let me see if I can do it, just hold it freehand. So there's that flat line, right? I just made that term up, I like it. So we know now that the bottom of this grade rod, since we made the adjustment, is what I need my top of base to be. So you can do all sorts of things with that. The other cool stuff you can do with that laser is if you set it in the right spot, you can also, with the remote, hit the remote and make that laser field change. And you can hit, if you know your marks, you can make it hit a perfect slope. So that's great for drainage, or if your base needs to slope, whatever. That's a whole nother video. That's why that dual slope is really handy, because you can make that laser field go like this and like that. And so you can get a dual sloped field, if you will. So laser is a must-have. You got to have one if you're running any kind of landscape or construction business. Next best thing for estimates and even doing this kind of stuff on a smaller scale is one of those high precision altimeters, like a zip level, for example. Whatever. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I'm missing. Like I said, here in the year of our Lord Anno Domini 2022, a good laser level, entry level is going to be about $1,000. Tripod, grade rod, this. Another great thing too, by the way, is if you can swing it to buy a larger receiver, so something that's like this tall, right? Because that'll give you a larger receiver field there. And so now you'll know, instead of having to hunt real delicately to find that, because you only got a 2-inch receiver where that laser hits, it's this big now, so you can just stab this thing in here and it'll tell you exactly how close you are. It'll have a little readout so you know exactly where you're at on that, so it makes it faster and easier to find instead of at 200 feet trying to find that little thing. So very handy, and that's kind of laser basics right out the gate. There's a lot more to talk about that. Maybe let me know in the comments what we missed, what you want to see more of, whatever, and we'll keep bringing this kind of content to you here. We're taking the channel in a new direction here, trying to talk more value-based stuff, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So this summer and spring is going to be a lot of fun, folks. We'll see you.
Yeah, you were talking like how your shop is going to eliminate like drive time, and I think Brian mentioned like if you forget nuts and bolts and things like that. Something you guys know, Josh Sutton.
I was going to tell that story. You stole it from me.
Yeah, and so they talk to the, they buy so many irrigation supplies that now they keep stock.
Yep.
And then whenever they use it, then that's when they get charged. So like, they worked with their supplier.
They keep an inventory at the shop and they manage it for them. Yeah.
Yep, yeah. So they don't have to drive, for them it's like probably 30 minutes to the supply and then to whatever their job is.
Yeah, because I watched on Instagram, he's like this is $63. And it was like a little $2 part, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he explained, he's like, it took me 20 minutes to drive there, 10 minutes to wait in line, 20 minutes to get back, which is one billable hour that he wasn't able to, do in the craft. So even though it was $2-3, it was really $63 mistake.
Right.
Yeah, and that's just one thing, one day.